And I believe you had an Orthodox Jewish roommate?
We met Richie, who now goes by Dick, in the dorm at Northeastern. And then a group of us, after the following year in Northeastern, you can only live in the dorm for the first year. Then they encourage you to get apartments because they didn't have enough dorm space. And a group of us became friends, and he was one of them. And he came and we lived together as a group for the next 4 years. We had a kosher, quote unquote kosher household because he was living with us. And we said, yeah, you could live with us. He asked about it. I think he was kind of worried about where he'd end up. I think he was thrilled that we were willing to do this. So we'd go to the kosher butcher in Brookline and buy the beef that had no flavor and no juice in it. And we would have different sets of sponges and different sets of silverware. And we had a plant in the kitchen that was withered, not much of a plant, but it was basically a pot of dirt. And I just would remember him, we never knew why it was there. He brought it in there, and then we would discover that as if we ever made a mistake with silverware and used the dairy for meat or whatever, which would happen frequently because we were college kids and we weren't paying as close attention as he was. We'd see forks and knives and spoons stuck in the dirt in the kitchen, and we asked him about that one time, and it was, I guess that's how you get it back to being kosher again. I don't know. He couldn't explain it real clearly except that he knew he needed to do that. I just have the memory of the big pot with the dead plant that stayed there all the years. It would come with us from apartment to apartment. Friday nights we would go out, and he would stay home if we were driving somewhere or even taking a trolley somewhere because it was Shabbos. Yeah. And he would ask us to leave lights on, and at that point, at one time, one of our houses, we had 3 TVs. This was before the days of cable. So there were probably only 3 stations we probably even got, and he would ask us to leave the TVs on 3 different stations. And a few times, if we were feeling witty or whimsical, we might just leave everything off when we'd go out. And he'd be there, he couldn't really say anything, or he'd be looking at us, and we'd say, see you later. We'd walk out the door, and we'd come home 10 o'clock at night. He'd be in bed sleeping because nothing was on, and he couldn't turn anything on. But he would have been happy to use it if we had it turned on. If he wanted to eat something, and we were making dinner that night for Friday, he would ask us to call to get something delivered. Then he'd ask us to go, well, he didn't ask us, we knew at that point, to go to his wallet, take the money out, pay the delivery guy for the food. We gave the delivery guy on Friday nights a very good tip because it was his money. And that would happen frequently if we weren't cooking. I do remember him one time, we were talking about family, and we asked him, how many brothers and sisters do you have? And he looked at us, he said, working or non-working? And we're like, what do you mean, working or non-working? How many brothers and sisters do you have? He goes, well, do you want to know the ones that are living at home or not living at home? And he would never answer the question. And we didn't really understand that. We just kind of went with it. It became a running joke for a while. And one day, we went to pick him up at his parents' house. We were going back up to Boston, and we walked into his house. And I said to his father, Dr. Luger, how many sons and daughters do you have? And he looked at me, he said, working or non-working? And we all just fell apart. And we realized later on, somebody explained to us that it was supposed to be bad luck to talk about an exact number of children that you have or something, and they would not do it. So it was just interesting. It was like one of those religious kind of things that he just wouldn't answer. And then when his parents said the same thing, we just started cracking up. We thought it was really funny. But he lived with us for 4 years until he left. The year we all started to split up to go different ways, he left to live on a kibbutz in Israel after he graduated from Northeastern. And that's actually where he met his wife.